Alright guys, today we're going to talk about what you should be buying this time of year. It's almost Christmas, so you need to be getting gifts for your angler and your family. So we thought we'd make these videos to help you. We know several people do it. We thought maybe we could get on board and help you with our opinions.
Yep.
Maybe you'll see some similarities between us and other people. Maybe you'll see some differences. But we're going to start off with one of our favorite techniques, if not our favorite technique. That's our jigs.
Indeed.
We got our jig boxes here to help show y'all what we're going to be doing. And how do you think we should start this off, Trey? Casting, flipping, football, swim.
Let's start with football.
Start with football jigs?
I'm liking football.
So, we know if you guys are in a lot of the northern fisheries, any fisheries with like a hard rocky bottom, or you got several rock piles or whatever in your lake,
yep,
you're going to be wanting to throw a football jig. So we thought we'd take out a few, show you here. This is that Strike King tour grade football jig.
We pulled the same one.
We did. This is the PB&J color.
Indeed.
You can see that Rage Crawl on the back.
Yep.
I will point that out. We're not going to be just talking about the jigs themselves. We will be talking about trailers to go along with them and the rods we use.
Yep.
So, start off, Strike King tour grade football jig. It's a great jig. It's an inexpensive jig. With football, you're just throwing it out to them rock piles or your rocky bottom and just dragging it across that bottom, hoping to entice a big bite.
Yep.
So you can see how I've beaten the paint off that head. I've used this jig quite a lot.
Yep.
And I use multiple. I have it in black and blue. I have it in like a green pumpkin or watermelon red flake. Use it all the time. Great jig.
Yep.
And then, you know, I have a couple of no names in here. I'm not really particular with my football jigs. I have a Jordan Lee comeback jig in here. Really, with football jig, don't be so particular in the jig itself. Just make sure you find what you like.
Yep. And
the sizes you like. Football jigs, I'd say we're mostly throwing 1/2 ounce, but the deeper you get, the larger you're going to want to go, maybe up to 3/4 or 1 ounce. Or if you're a big jig kind of guy, over 1 ounce.
Yep. And of course, your size of your jig is going to dictate what type of gear you throw it with.
Indeed. And I think really that's all we have to say about football jigs. We're going to go through this pretty quick.
Yep.
Let's move into casting jigs.
Okay.
I feel like that's probably going to be our biggest category. We really like casting jigs. Like the most versatile jig out there. I'll start off with this 6 Sense Divine Hybrid Jig.
Yep.
Great jig, solid build, and they look good. This is in that jungle crawl color. I do believe that's what that's called. It's a good jig. Catches a lot of good fish.
Yep. And I pulled out the 7th Cast structure jig.
Yep.
And 7th Cast is a local brand around here. We like to support them.
Indeed.
And they make some really good jigs. They got some really nice colors.
Yeah.
And the paint is really durable.
Yeah, we use a lot of their stuff.
Yep. Really good stuff.
Quality.
And I have it paired
known
up
brand if you've never heard of them.
And then I have it paired up with a 6 Sense prawn as a trailer. I really enjoy the prawns.
Yeah. You know, let's go back actually, because I don't feel like we gave enough credit to football jig trailers. I really only said I used the Rage Crawl, which is true. I use the Rage Crawl all the time for just about any type of jig I'm throwing, to be honest with you. But also, I feel like, especially in the winter time, when football jigs really come into their own, you want to be throwing something with a little more dead action, more beaver style bait. So that Strike King Rodent, the Berkeley Pit Boss. This is the old packaging, still Havoc here. But those type of trailers do really well. You can really throw anything on a football jig.
Yeah.
Wild action in the summer months and in the spring and even in the fall. But as you go into them winter months, late fall, die that action down a little bit, go something a little more dead.
Yep.
Like a beaver style bait.
Yep. Keep it simple.
So back to casting jigs. That Strike King Premier Pro model. I mean, we use that constantly.
Yep.
Like, I mean, how often do we throw a Premier Pro model?
Probably 80% of the time we tie on jigs.
Right, and again, super inexpensive. I mean, you
$250.
can go to Walmart and they're like $250 for a jig and like 2 Rage Menaces.
Yeah.
Strike King has figured out a balance of quality and low expense.
Yep.
Extremely low. And I have that paired up with a Egg Zone Adrenaline Crawl.
I would say runner-up for me are these Boo jigs from Booyah.
Yeah.
I really like these. I really like how they come with some rattles. Granted, for this time of year, this would be a little bit aggressive on the jig side. But spring, summer, I really enjoy the rattles that come on these Boo jigs. And they're inexpensive too. They can be had for $3, somewhere in there. Depends really on where you go and get them. But still, cost to performance ratio is really high with these. And I have a Riot Baits Little Fuzzy on this one.
It's good looking.
A little bit more active action with the flanges right there.
And as far as runner-ups go for me, I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to give you 2. This is that Strike King Denny Brower Pro Model jig. Different, just a little different head shape. Still a casting jig. It's kind of interesting, but it also got your rattles down here that are fixed. Slightly different kind of design from the Premier Pro model, but still really good jig. And then I'm also going to give you that Stanley Hale Jig. Both good jigs, both been around for quite a while, and they get the job done.
Oh, I should mention jigs that are a little different. The
indeed.
Trash Master jigs.
Yes.
That can be had from Carl's Bait and Tackle. They are interesting. Very, very stout hook on these.
That is indeed
And
very stout.
but they have a screw lock design for whatever trailer you put on. So you almost treat it like a jig with an EWG hook. You screw your trailer into the screw lock right here, and then you text pose your bait through the hook. And while I have caught a fish on it, I'm not confident with this type of jig enough to put a whole lot of remarks with it and to have a definitive opinion with it. But it's definitely a more interesting jig design, and you could find weird jigs like this or just interesting head shapes and stuff, and I heavily recommend you all look into those and try them out, because jigs aren't that expensive.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're a Carl's Club member, they're like $3 and something.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're not, with most jigs, you're not shelling out a lot of dough, but you are catching, by far, bigger fish in general.
Indeed.
So, it's just something about that jig, man. They just like to eat it. Big fish do. And that's quite a unique innovation, I would point out. But I feel like, let's move into swim jigs.
Okay. First swim jig that I will grab is the one that I've been using all year long. Don't know. I've lost it once and found it again in the same video we recorded. And this is the Googan Grass Hero. And you all know how we feel about Googan. So the fact that I've liked this jig this much actually surprised me. And I didn't even buy this. One of our fishing buddies from high school left this in my car, and I kind of stole it and been using it since. And I really like it. It pairs real well with a Rage Swimmer, which is what I have it on with right now. And this is the bluegill color, and it just catches fish. But all swim jigs do, no matter what brand you go with.
Yeah, for the most part. For me, what I'm going to start off with my most confidence, I'm going to give you these two at the same time because they're basically close to the same jig, just one's a little more beefed up. So this is that Strike King Tour Grade Swimming Jig. Like I said, extremely inexpensive. Again, it's like $250 at Walmart. Very good jig. Caught a ton of fish on this jig. It's a very thin gauged hook, very small, compact swim jig. I mean, it's kind of middle of the road, but it is more of a compact swim jig. It's lighter, but then you got its big brother here, a lot beefier, thick gauge wire hook.
Massive.
Not really a stiffer weed guard, but a thicker weed guard. It has more there. But same type of wire, bait keeper on there, a little thicker collar, and a more beefed up, wider head for it to really cut through grass and weeds better. But that is the Greg Hackney heavy cover swim jig. That is a good swim jig right there. Got any others you'd like to talk about?
No, really. The Premier Pro model swim jigs are just sweet. But no, you really covered it well. I couldn't have put it any better.
All right. Well, in that case, I have a couple more I'll point out to you. This is the Booyah swimming boot jig. Comes with rattles on it. It's very neat. I have that paired up with a vial crawl. It's a good swimming jig. And then that Z-Man cross-eyes snakehead swim jig. This is in the mouse color. Very good swim jig. I really like their bait keeper on there. It's kind of not really like a screw lock, but like 4 or 5 barbs there that really just grasp onto that bait and keep it locked. It's a good swim jig.
Very good. Very good indeed.
All right, with that, I guess let's move into... Well, I think you can't do swim jigs without immediately moving into chatterbaits.
Yeah.
Bladed jigs or bladed swim jigs. They don't always have to be a bladed swim jig, but that's what you tend to see most. But bladed jigs. So I'm going to start this off with the Strike King Thunder Cricket. A little more expensive chatterbait. It's like $13, $14, somewhere right in there. But it's Strike King quality. It's a very good chatterbait. It has its own unique vibration. It's not like the chatterbaits by Z-Man. I guess I should keep saying bladed jig instead of chatterbait, just to be clear on this section.
Yeah.
But you also have a painted blade that matches the head and the skirt, and a thicker gauged hook. And overall, it's nice. It has that multiple barb keeper on there as well as a wire keeper, so your bait's locked on there good. And I like how open that hook is. It's just a nice, high quality bladed jig.
Yep.
All right, what would you like to talk about first?
I'll just move into, I have a couple, original chatterbaits, and these are workhorses of lures, guys. They catch fish, and the big thing with chatterbaits is that they're expensive, and the way that you're supposed to fish them near and around structure, not a lot of people will be apt to do because they're expensive and they don't want to lose them.
You can talk about that one with it.
That's a tiny one.
Yeah, it's the mini.
The mini. That's sweet. I need to pick me up one of these.
Yeah.
I'm getting off track now. But no, they're absolute workhorses. Fish them in and around structure, and you'll lose a couple, but man, you'll pull a lot of fish off of trees and stuff like that. I also have a vibrating head swing jig here. This is the Rick Clunn. What is this thing called? This is from Lucky Strike. I cannot remember the name of this thing.
Hey, you know what? Neither can I at this moment.
But it's a silicone head
should have been
blade.
a little more prepared for that one, I guess.
Yeah. I have had a little bit of luck on this, but the thing with these silicone heads on some of these riffs off of chatterbaits is they don't hold their shape as well as metal, obviously, so they bend out and then they'll stop vibrating. So just be aware of that, but these do catch fish. I have caught a couple off of this. And interestingly enough, it also has a screw lock design with a big old EWG hook for your trailer.
Indeed. Okay, so I'll talk about a couple more. Mainly one more that I would definitely recommend, a couple that I am intrigued by but haven't really got to put the time in with them yet. That one I would absolutely buy, especially if you're a pond angler or a bank fisherman in general, is that Z-Man cross-eyes jig.
Yep.
Or bladed jig, chatterbait. It's an actual chatterbait because it's made by Z-Man.
Yep.
definitely look into that. It is one of the best for coming through heavy cover and structure around timber. It's very efficient, and I think that one, I lost mine, even though I just talked about how good it was. I threw it up into a tree, and there was just no coming out of that tree.
No.
But it's a little more expensive. I think they normally go for $10, but you can consistently find them on sale for around $8. Go check those out, especially with Tackle Warehouse doing their 25 days of Christmas. You could definitely find some really good deals, and I know for a fact they are on sale right now, so you can go check those out. But one more that I'm intrigued by, but haven't got to put in time with it yet, is that Chatterbait Freedom CFL, which is a collaboration between Z-Man and Freedom Tackle. As you notice, it has a swinging football head on there, which is made out of zinc, and these are specifically made to, no matter how fast you reel them, stay down in the water column. And depending on how deep you're fishing, it could be on the bottom, it could be midway, just however far you let it sink, and it's going to stay down there and not ride up on you whenever you're reeling faster. So that's an honorable mention. I will say one that you should absolutely not buy is this Mustad Bladed Jig here. I don't remember what they call it, but it's trash and you should not buy it.
Quick on trailers for chatterbaits and things of that ilk. You can use paddle tails and stuff. Yep. Just remember to rig them upside down, because if you don't, they can interfere with the blade.
Yeah. So paddle tail swim baits, like Trey said, these big bite baits, Kamikaze swim-ons. This is a great little trailer. I'll pull one, I actually have one rigged up right here. As you can see, it's a swim bait, but it has this forked tail down here that has holes in it.
Yep. And
that helps. It leaves a bubble trail. It really does. And it gives it a nice swimming action without interfering with the overall presentation.
Yodo worms work really well.
Indeed. And then other than that, what I really like throwing on chatterbaits as well as swim jigs, because I think this swim jig trailers, is a Rage Menace. That's the baby Rage Menace. Or Rage Craws.
Yep.
Beaver style baits make actually fantastic trailers for a chatterbait, especially if you want it to go over structure better. It doesn't, when you have a rounded body trailer, that helps that chatterbait to roll whenever you go on over top of like a piece of wood or something, and that really gets you hung up. So if you use a flat profile bait as your trailer, then it keeps that hook standing straight up and not getting hung up as much.
Indeed.
Indeed. And with that, I guess let's move into, well, real quick, because we want to give it its own highlight, is flipping jigs.
Mm-hmm.
Another really versatile type jig, but I'll point out this Z-Man cross-eyes flipping jig. That's a really good flipping jig. And there's a few out there. Just go with whatever your favorite brand or whatever is.
Yep.
And find confidence in your favorite flipping jig. Mostly they're all the same, but I'll let you decide on that. I will say that cross-eyes is hand-tied and it's high quality. But with that, let's move into our final category of finesse jigs.
Teeny boys.
Yeah, and this is really, if you're not throwing football jigs right now, you need to be throwing finesse jigs.
Indeed.
And for good reason. You're trying to downsize right now, give those really finicky lethargic, I should say, wintertime bass something to eat that they're not, it's not a big presentation, because they're not going to want to eat something big. They just want to eat the easiest thing they can.
Yep.
So these finesse jigs really come into play right now, in particular.
And I would say our most used one would be the Bitsy Bugs.
Yep.
They are exemplary. They do what they're supposed to do. The price point's there.
Yeah. I mean, they're like $1.80.
Yeah, like, come on now. They come in multitudes of sizes.
Yeah, so I believe this is I think this is a 16th ounce.
I think this may be a 3/8.
I think quarter. I think the
Quarter?
quarter's the biggest they
Is it
make
quarter?
in the Bitsy Bug.
Okay.
Quarter ounce. I know they make a. I believe they make a. I know for a fact they make a 16 ounce. I believe they might even make a 32nd.
Whew, going light.
Whew. That is small.
But no, these jigs are awesome, and they stay in my tackle box. I know for a fact. Logan's probably. And they just work. Whenever you're thinking that, you know, it's going to be a small jig bite type of day, and you don't have any, you know, you can run down to the Walmart, pick you up about 3-4 of these suckers, and walk out and have a good old time.
Right. Another thing that I would argue we've probably caught more smallmouth on
Yes.
than anything is these baby Firework Finesse Jigs that are a Ketchco collaboration.
Yep.
These are fantastic finesse jigs.
Yes.
And they will catch you fish, I promise. This is the bluegill pattern. This is their, I believe this is just the blue crawl type color. That's a egg zone muscleback finesse crawl on there. Perfect size for it.
And this one I believe is called Firework? No.
I'm not positive.
Look for the pink one.
Yeah,
You'll find it.
The pink one is fantastic for smallmouth.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Smallmouths hate pink.
They do.
So.
But these are ball head finesse jigs, which I would go out and venture to say are my favorite style. I feel like they just, the way they stand up and the way they come through the water is just great.
Yes.
And those are perfect. Also, I would pair those up with these missile-based drop crawls. These very slender, small profile of these drop crawls is fantastic.
I personally enjoy using the Sakoshi bugs.
Yeah. Oh, yes, the Sakoshi bug. Which
That's a deadly combo right there.
It really is, which you can see on this Bitsy bug right here. This one's actually pretty chewed up, but they last a long time. He's kind of crimped over from being in my box.
Yeah, but hey, it don't matter.
These are that Elastec type material. I think they call it
Stretch X.
Yeah.
Yep.
But a couple more jigs I just want to highlight real quick is this Z-Man Cross Ice Power Finesse. I feel like the Cross Ice keeps making it into my categories, but overall they are really nice. And this is a power finesse jig. You can swim it more, you can do more things with it, but overall it's just a really good finesse jig. Yep. And they're cool looking because they got the eyes. This is a finesse swim jig, so you can see how little that dude is. Really nice little, I don't remember who makes this. I feel like it might be Blitz, I'm not positive. But a nice little finesse profile in a swim jig. So if you're really big into swim jigging, you can still throw this, and it's just a tiny little profile.
Man, that's a dope looking skirt too.
It is, that red with that green pumpkin type deal, and whatever color that is.
I like
and then
that.
it has like a screw lock type deal, but not metal. It's actually, well, I guess it is metal. It's lead, but it's just already molded into the head. And one more honorable mention, because if you really want to get finessey, this is that Molex Nano Jig. Look at the little hook on this. And for just comparison, where did that? Here it is. This is that Firework jig. So this is the heads beside each other. Look how much smaller that hook is. This is ultra finesse. I mean, that is a tiny little jig.
You could throw that on fly tackle.
And they're pretty. And the weed guard is 4 bristles.
A whole 4.
And but for how small it is, it's a stout little jig, and it will catch you fish.
Indeed.
I would try it out. They're pretty widely available. But that about wraps up our jig buyer guides. Just to go over trailers again, I recommend Rage Crawls for just about any category except for finesse jigs.
Simply because they're just small.
Right. Paddle tail swim baits, not necessarily the Rage Swimmer, but paddle tail swim baits. Really any of those. kamikaze swim-ons for swim jigs. And actually, I will go back to paddle tail swim bait. You can throw this on any type of jig.
Yeah.
I mean, not just swim jigs or chatterbaits. They work on any type of jig as long as you like that trailer. Missile baits, drop crawl for finesse jigs. Strike King Rodent and Berkeley Pit Boss for football head jigs in particular, but any type of jigs if you're trying to dial back on the action and give it a little more dead action.
Yep. And then for me, trailer-wise, Valcross for more of a lively action. They have big flanges on their claws. Yep. Then the prawns for a more dead action. The Riot Baits Fuzzy and Little Fuzzies are really good too. They have a bit more of a lively action versus the prawns, but not as much as the Valcraw. And the Little Fuzzies work well on your smaller jigs and your finesse jigs.
Indeed.
And then Sakoshi bugs, as we stated earlier, perfect for your smaller finesse jigs. And then Yoda worms are really nice for your chatterbaits.
Indeed. Indeed.
And then as a little honorable mention, these Gambler BB crickets. I've yet to try these, but these suckers would probably do really well.
They do look like they would. Like, if you're, again, going for a little more dead action.
Yeah, because these have no flanges.
They have a little more cylindrical, slender profile.
Yep.
I think that would be a really good trailer. You could even bite that right down right now.
Yeah.
Throw that on a finesse jig.
Yep.
Like Trey's showing you. Or any type of jig.
Yeah. I would not
be good.
have a problem throwing this on anything.
And boy, they are fragrant.
Yes, sir.
But with that, we'll sign off here. Remember to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Set it to all. Comment down below what jigs are your favorites. What other type of buyer's guide type deals would you like to see? Have a happy holidays.
Indeed.
Check out the end screen for a couple of videos that we have released previously. Might be the Mock Smash combo. Might be the Ozark Trail combo. Check those out. We had some interesting things to say about both types of combos.
Indeed.
Remember, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. I did just think of something though. Just got to talk about rods.
Oops.
I personally use a 7'3" medium heavy for most types of my jigs. I tend to throw 3/8 ounce jigs. Just lost one of my rods there. If I'm throwing a heavier jig, I will move up to a 7'3" heavy. So just keep that in mind. And then for chatterbaits and swim jigs, I'm again throwing maybe 1/4 ounce to 3/8 ounce swim jigs and chatterbaits, maybe 1/2 ounce. So I tend to throw those on a medium fast, 7 foot medium fast. If I'm throwing a little heavier or I just need a little more oomph, I'll go up to a 7 foot medium heavy fast.
Yep. And for me, for my smaller jigs and things of that ilk and heavier chatterbaits, I'll throw it 7 foot medium heavy fast right here. And then for my heavier stuff, I'll throw a 7.5 heavy rod.
Indeed. So remember that, all that stuff I said earlier about signing off, and goodbye.